I think they're very close to a deal. I'm very confident there will be a deal and that'll happen within 24 hours.
All right, that was Michigan Senator Carl Levin on Fox News Sunday. He says we'll have a deal soon, but that may come with some serious strings. Who do we have in the pundit pit today? Well, we have Bernard Whitman, former speechwriter to President Clinton, John Batchelor from thedailybeast.com, Georgette Mossbacher, CEO Borghese and GOP fundraiser, and Dan Gerstein, columnist Forbes magazine. We should mention, since Brian said it in the tease 2 minutes ago, which of you is the injured one?
Oh, God. Don't show. Do not show
you
my
have a beautiful shoe on today.
Oh, yeah. I'm not in my 5-inch heels. What can I tell you?
Well, you still look fabulous anyway.
Thank you.
All right, let me start with you, since the center of attention is focused on you right now, and what Chris Dodd also said, the senator from Connecticut, that Rick Wagner, the GM CEO, should be fired.
Well, you know, my first reaction was that how dare anyone in Congress call for the firing of a CEO, but then I thought about it and thought, if we're going to give them all this money, then why shouldn't the government be able to have oversight as to who's running the place? So I'm not sure that Chris Dodd doesn't have a right to sit down and say, wait, if we're going to give you the money, we're going to take a look at your plan and decide whether you can do it or not.
Is that one way, Bernard, to make Detroit finally change?
Well, this is a shocking moment that Georgette and I are agreeing. And I think it's absolutely the case. You know, this bailout is sort of like Robitussin. Most people don't like how it tastes. Some people do. But you need to drink it to stop coughing and feel better until the body has healed itself. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing with this bailout. We cannot let these companies fail. It is something that is distasteful, the remedy. But I do believe that this sort of program is going to work, particularly if we put in the type of oversight board that they're talking about with 5 secretaries.
Exactly. And also a car czar. But, John, let me ask you this. Isn't the American public going to be really upset if the car companies come back in another few months and say, hey, that money wasn't enough?
The debate about the cars ended 8:30 on December 5th when we got the jobless number. This is not about the cars anymore. This is about the economy of the United States and North America. We're in trouble. There's an emergency going on. Congress doesn't have a choice anymore. Bail out anything because that jobless number is a threat to our freedom.
Do you agree with that, Dan? And what about this car czar? Who would you pick possibly to be that person?
That's a good question. I would just pick up on Bernard's metaphor and go a step further. I think this is actually going down more like motor oil. And it's a lot of people are choking on it. But I think John is absolutely right. I think the fact that the tipping point in this is the jobless numbers and the fact that no one in Congress, as bad as this bailout bill is going over, no one wants to be on the hook if they don't intervene and hundreds of thousands of people lose their jobs. I'm not sure about the bailouts are, but I think one other condition, I would like to see a big change in management. The stupidity and arrogance of the leadership in Detroit has been well chronicled. It's not even a
Even Barack
open
Obama
question.
said yesterday that the 3 CEOs appeared to have their heads in the sand.
The other thing that needs to be looked at, though, is Chrysler's ownership. The idea that Cerberus, which is this very wealthy private equity company, has been doing very little to help Chrysler, that they're going to get a bailout when they have the assets to actually make some changes at Chrysler, I think is a little outrageous.
That's a good point.
There needs to be more scrutiny on that point.
Well, and lots of people coming with their hands out. All right, the next topic, you're going to be intrigued by this one. Caroline Kennedy as the senator from New York to take over Hillary's place. We're going to debate that with our pit. Plus, an atheist display right on the steps of the state capitol in Washington leads to some pretty heated protests. Wait till you hear what the anti-religion signs were allowed to be right next to. Welcome back, everyone. Caroline Kennedy eyeing the Senate seat that will be left vacant when Hillary Clinton is confirmed, if she is, as the next Secretary of State. But what does everyone think? Is it a good idea or not? Does she have the right experience? We're back with the pundit pit. All right, Dan, let me start with you on this one. Do you believe that Caroline Kennedy will be the next senator from New York?
Yes, I do, and I think it makes sense in many different ways. And Bernard and I were talking about this in the green room, and mostly because with New York and the budget crisis it's facing, the economic crisis it's facing, losing Hillary Clinton, it needs someone with some star power. It needs someone who can get things done, has clout. She walks in with instant credibility, instant name recognition. I hate to say it, it's because of her celebrity. I think the test for her is going to be, I think she's a very smart, accomplished woman, but most people don't know her. And there's going to be a sense of, wait a minute, did she get this just because she's a Kennedy? So I think the burden's going to be on her to prove herself very early.
Okay, Bernard, let me ask you this, because you have had a former relationship with the Clintons. Does Hillary Clinton care at all all that Caroline Kennedy, who came out and supported Barack Obama and snubbed Hillary Clinton, does she care that she might take her seat in New York?
I think what Hillary Clinton cares about is putting someone in that Senate seat that can further her agenda for New York. You know, Caroline Kennedy has an extraordinary amount of strength of character and experience outside the Senate. And the truth is, the problem in Congress isn't a lack of experience, it's too much experience. And she can bring a new, fresh way of getting things done. She has raised $65 million in private funding money for New York's public education system. And that is, I think, one of many talents that she brings to the seat. So I think Hillary's going to be excited that there's going to be someone fresh with some vigor who can carry forward her agenda.
Yeah, but she fought against that whole change mantra with Barack Obama. She didn't like it then. I'm not so sure she'd be hot on it now. But Georgette, you are not necessarily key on Caroline Kennedy either.
Look,
but you and I agree that this was pre-planned possibly a long time.
Oh, I agree with that. I mean, I don't think the Kennedys do anything that they don't have preconditions to. And I certainly don't think that her working on the Obama campaign, that was the beginning of this. But I don't understand when you say she's experienced because she's raised 35, whatever the number of $1 million. What kind of experience is that to be able to deal with the problems with the state of New York? We are in very difficult times. Look, she's going to get the job because her name is Kennedy, but let's not kid ourselves. That's the reason she's going to get the job, not because she's qualified for it.
Two men matter. One is the president-elect of the United States. The other one is the governor of New York. What is in it for David Paterson? What it is in it for Barack Obama? For money raising. The politics is the pursuit of money. Governor Paterson is running for election for the first time in 2010. I think he wants to stand with a Kennedy and count on the White House.
Well, if it were money raising, then I should get the job.
Best point of the day, John. Give me some skin. Best point of the day. You all were fantastic, though. Thanks so much for being in the pit today. All right, let's go out to Brian and Steve in the green room.